Hi, I'm Lucas Rogers and I'd like to welcome you along to the Rogers Property Group. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to structure loans. Very, very important thing is your finance. Now, financing, people think it's, property investment is just all about selecting the right property and so on. Look, let me tell you, it's not. You can have the greatest property in the world, but unless you've got your right financial structure and your right loan setup, then that property can be a real pain for you and can turn out to be disastrous at the end of the day. So what I'm going to do for you at the moment is explain to you a thing called cross-collateralization and how to avoid it and the correct way to structure a loan. Okay, so when we're starting off with our property investment, we generally have our own home here, okay? And that might be with, say, the National Australia Bank. Then over here, we want to go out and buy an investment property. Okay. What the majority of people do when they want to finance their investment property, they go back to the National Australia Bank and they say, look, can you please lend me 100% of the property that I want to buy over here? Bank over here says, sure, no problem at all. I'll lend you 100%. But for that, I'm going to take the first mortgage. Well, I've already got the first mortgage over the home. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first mortgage over the investment property as well. Now what's happened is everything's been tied in together and you're what we call cross-collateralized. Now, might not seem like much of a problem when things are going great, but what would happen if you were to default over here? The National Australia Bank has the right to take not only this asset over here, but this asset over here, and they can take them in any one order. And look, I'm not picking on the National Australia Bank, all banks are the same. Okay, all banks are the same. If they have you in cross-collateralization, then they can take whichever asset that they want. And if they think most of the equity's in here, then they may sell this one off first. That's not the position that we want to get ourselves into. And what we want to do is we want to avoid this idea of having our assets all tied up with one particular bank. So how do we get around it? Well, it's quite simple, to be honest. Rather than going back to the National Australia Bank and borrowing 100% from them, we're just going to go back and borrow enough for a deposit on this property over here. And that might be, say, 10%. So we take that as almost like cash, okay? So we're drawing out 10%. Then what we do is we take our cash deposit effectively and go and get a second bank to lend us the other 90% there. It doesn't matter which bank that is. Let's call it, might be Westpac, ANZ. It doesn't even have to be one of the big four banks. You can choose whoever. So what's happened there is you've still borrowed 100%. So it's not like you've borrowed any more or you're paying more or anything like that, or you're paying more on your home. It's not like that. You're still borrowing the same amount. It still adds up to be 100%. But what we've done is we're getting it from two different sources. So that makes massive impact on our safety, because what it does is it keeps up a firewall between our home and our investment portfolio. So if something was to go wrong over here, or Westpac, they only have first mortgage over this. And what we could do is if we were short over here, we could potentially refinance with ANZ and pay them out. At least we know our own home is out of the picture. This is very, very important, not only with residential property, but even more so when it comes to investing in commercial property. I don't think a lot of people realize that commercial property can be revalued downwards at any time, as can rural property as well. And this is one of the reasons why I don't, put clients into any sort of type of rural property or any type of commercial property, because its fluctuating valuations can become a nightmare for clients. So if we're sticking to our residential property, still keep our own home out of the picture and avoid cross-collateralizing. I hope this has been of some assistance to you. If you have any further questions, please feel free to email me in the office or give the office a call. Thanks for listening.